everyone, welcome to today's video tutorial and walkthrough of Timber the Bear from LYKKE's AMITAMI kits. Before we jump into the tutorial, I wanted to lay out all the materials included in the kit and quickly go over them with you so we can get familiar with them before we actually start. So first and foremost, we do have our instruction kit here. I will be again walking through this step by step with you, but if you're interested in following along with me, we're going to start at the legs and work our way down like this. So that's just in case you want to follow along and maybe learn some terms as we go. We also of course have our crochet hook. In today's video we're going to be using a 2.5mm crochet hook. We have our main color yarn, which is going to be our russet color here, as well as some accent colors. So we have color A, which is going to be mocha, and color B, which is going to be black. We have the perfect amount of stuffing for Timber, our little bear, and then we also have a stitch marker to mark the last stitch of every round and our tapestry needle to weave in all of the ends. So that's everything included in the kit, and with all of that out of the way we can actually get set up and start working Timber. One last thing about the instructions before we get started on today's video is that there is an abbreviations chart, a basic conversion chart, and a diagram for magic ring and front and back loop that you can reference at any time if you're interested in that. But again, I'll be showing you actually magic ring here in just a second, and I'll show you front and back loop when we do get there. So just wanted to mention that one more piece of advice. But now we are finally ready to start Timber. So all we need in front of us at this moment is going to be our russet brown yarn, our main color, our crochet hook, and our stitch marker, and we will begin round one of Timber. So for round one, which is going to be our first of the legs, it says using the main color, make a magic ring, chain 1 and single crochet 5 into the ring. So in order to begin that, we do need to of course make a magic ring. Now the magic ring is the most challenging part of the whole tutorial, so stick with me, and if you have a really challenging time getting this, don't worry, I have a little bit of a hack for you as well. So let's try to work it together though, and then if you don't get it, I'll show you the alternative, but I'd love for you to give this a try with me. So in order to make a magic ring, the first thing you need to do is place your index finger and middle finger out like this sideways, and we're going to drape the yarn over our fingers with, whoops, my sleeve is catching it, with the tail side of the yarn facing down towards our middle finger here. Then with our thumb, we can go ahead and clamp the yarn and take the working side of the yarn, which is the one attached to the ball here. We're going to wrap it around our fingers, coming up back over our middle finger, and we're going to create a crisscross over our index finger with the yarn like this. Then we're going to slightly turn our hand, and with our ring finger here, we're going to grab that working yarn just to hold it in place for us while we work our next step. So the next thing we're going to do is take the crochet hook and place the hook side facing down. We're going to go under that first loop of yarn here, and we're going to grab the second loop and pull it under that first loop like this. Once you've pulled it under, you can twist your crochet hook slightly towards you, and you're going to shift it over near the working yarn here. Once you've reached the working yarn, you can go ahead and scoop that working yarn up with your crochet hook and pull it through that loop we have on the hook. Then we have a little bit of a loop created on the hook, and we can pull our fingers out. We've now created a magic ring. The cool thing about a magic ring is once you've created this, you have an adjustable loop. So once we work our stitches, we can just pull our loop shut like this, and it'll cinch up all of our stitches. So that was a lot of instructions. Let's try that one more time together. Fingers out like this. Yarn is draping over those fingers, clamping it with our thumb, wrapping it around and crisscrossing it over our index finger. Turning our hand and holding the yarn with our ring finger, we take our crochet hook, hook side facing down, under the first strand, grabbing the second strand, and pulling it back under the first strand. Then we'll turn our crochet hook towards us, slide it over towards the working yarn. We'll scoop up that working yarn and pull it through that loop on our hook, creating another loop on our hook there. So we still have one loop on the hook, but we now have our magic ring. And there you go. We are ready to work the rest of round one. Now, if that was too much, again, don't worry about it. It does take some getting used to. You can also go ahead and create a slip knot and just chain up 4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and into that first chain, we can go ahead and insert our crochet hook into that chain, yarn over, pull through, and then from here we can pull through again, which is called a slip stitch, and this way you have created a very small hole. Now it's very hard to see right here, but you can work all your stitches into that hole as well. The only downside to working your chain 4 slip stitch is that your circle is not adjustable, so it usually doesn't cause too much of an issue. You usually don't have a gap, but it is the only downside to it. So either way, go ahead and make your magic ring or your chain 4, and we'll begin the rest of round 1. So I've gone ahead and made my magic ring, and now we are going to work the second set of round 1 instructions. So we need to chain up 1, so go ahead and chain 1, and then we're going to go ahead and place 5 single crochets into the ring. Now when it says into the ring, that means we're working with our hook into that circle we've made. We're grabbing the yarn and pulling it up over, yarning over, and pulling through there. So again, into the circle, grabbing the yarn, pulling it up, yarn over, pull through. Now we have 2 single crochets there, and we're going to repeat this for a total of 5 times. You're always working over both of these 2 strands of yarn here. That is the only way you'll be able to pull your circle shut with your stitches on there. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have one more here I need, which will be 5 single crochet. And once I have 5 single crochet, if you used the magic ring, go ahead and pull that tail of yarn and it'll close up your circle there. So it is magic. There you go. And once you've done that as well, into that last stitch, you're going to go ahead and place your stitch marker. That is going to be the end of round 1. Now for round 2, we're going to start working something called an increase. So it says for round 2, work an increase in every stitch all the way around to make your new stitch count 10 single crochet. So in order to work an increase, we're going to go into our first single crochet stitch over here, the first one we made, and we're yarning over. We are making a regular single crochet into that space, and then into that same space again, into that same stitch, we're going to create another single crochet. So an increase is just 2 single crochets in the same stitch, making 1 stitch into 2 stitches. So we're going to go ahead and complete that 4 more times into that next stitch. We'll do one more together. Yarn over, pull up a loop, 1 single crochet, and another single crochet into that same chain space. Perfect. Go ahead and create 3 more of those, and I'll meet you back at the end of this round. We'll begin round 3 together. I've just made my last single crochet, so I took my stitch marker out to make it, and I'm going to place it back into that last stitch. That's how you'll move it up for every single round. This will get very important for us once we start working larger rounds and we're not sure where it began and ended. So this will be a big help for us as we work it up. Make sure you move it with every single round we create. So for round 3, our instructions are 1 single crochet in the next stitch and an increase in the next stitch 5 times for a new stitch count of 15. So we are currently at 10 single crochet, so we'll go up to 15. In order to do that, into that first stitch, we're going to create 1 single crochet. And into that next stitch, we'll work an increase like we did in the last round. So that's just 2 single crochet in that 1 stitch. And we need to do that 5 times total, so that's our first sequence. Let's do it one more time together. 1 single crochet in that stitch, and into the next stitch, 2 single crochet. All right, go ahead and complete that 3 more times total, and then we will begin round 4 together. So now that we've completed round 3, we're ready for round 4. Round 4 is 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around. No increasing in this round, so you'll just work 1 single crochet in the next 15 stitches. Our stitch count will remain at 15, and I'll meet you back here at the end of round 4. We'll begin round 5 together. So now that we've worked our 1 single crochet in every stitch, we are ready to begin round 5. Round 5 is 1 single crochet in the next stitch and an invisible decrease in the next stitch 5 times to bring our stitch count back down from 15 to just 10. So let's work that together so I can show you how to do a decrease instead of an increase. Into that first stitch, everything's going to be the same. We'll just work 1 single crochet. Just like that. Now into these next 2 stitches, we're going to work our invisible decrease. Now in order to make it invisible, we're going to do something a little bit different. So instead of working through the front and back loop of the stitch like that, we are just going to be working through the front loop of the stitch only, just like that. So the first bar there. Again, full stitch is like this. Front part of the stitch is right here, the front loop. Now we are going to swing our hook over and go into the front loop of that next stitch. So we have 3 loops on our hook right now, and you can yarn over from here. Now we're going to pull that loop through that first loop on the hook, and we're going to pull the yarn through the second loop on the hook, like that. From here now, we have 2 loops on the hook. We can yarn over and pull through, and we have just created our invisible decrease. So let's do that one more time. First, we need to do a regular single crochet and another invisible decrease into the front bar of that first stitch, swing our hook to go through the front bar of the next stitch, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull the yarn through that first loop, pull the yarn through that second loop, and once we've pulled through both of those, yarn over and complete the stitch, another invisible decrease. So go ahead and do that 3 more times on your own. I'll meet you back here at the stitch marker to work round 6. Now that we've worked our rounds of invisible decreasing, we're ready for round 6. So for round 6, we're just making 1 single crochet in the next 10 stitches, no increasing or decreasing for this round, and when we get to the end of this round, we're going to fasten off. So I'll meet you after you work your last stitch, and we'll fasten off together. I'm at my last stitch here of round 6, so I'm going to remove my stitch marker completely. We won't need it again for this leg since we are finishing off this leg, making my last single crochet into that stitch, and chaining 1 extra. That just really locks in those stitches and makes sure it won't unravel, which of course we don't want. Leave yourself a small little tail here, and you're going to take your scissors and just cut that end there like that. And to finish off, all you need to do, whoop, if I can grab the hook, is pull this loop completely off of the hook like that, straight up and off, and that will secure it down into place. So that is our first leg. You're going to work the second leg now the exact same way we just worked this leg. The only difference is when you get to the end of round 6, do not fasten off. Come back with me and we'll begin round 7, which will be joining the legs together. So go ahead and take a moment to work your other leg, and I'll be right back to join them together. All right, I have 2 little legs here. One of them is fastened off, one of them is attached to our hook. This is the one we've just worked. Now, before we continue on, I am just going to cut the tail from this first leg a little bit shorter, this one on the inside, because I don't want that getting in the way while we're working this next round. So you can go ahead and do the same thing if you'd like, and then just push it in with my finger. Just gets 1 more of those yarn ends out of the way for us. So now we're going to work round 7, which means we're going to be connecting these 2 legs together. This is a really long round, so we're going to work it just step by step in little pieces, and there are pictures on the back of the instructions if you want to take a further look at those. But let's work this nice and slow together. So joining the legs, we're going to start with leg 2 that we are already working here. Let's chain up 4 together. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just like that, making sure it's nice and straight. We don't have any twists or turns in that chain. It says working on the first leg, single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches and increase in the next stitch. We're going to do that 2 times. So we're going to grab our other leg here, leg 1, and we need to attach to this leg. Now, just to make it easy, I'm just going to attach in the stitch after the fasten off here. So right here in this stitch, I'm going to insert my hook into that stitch with the yarn behind me here, the working yarn, and I can just go ahead and pull the yarn through that stitch, tighten it up there so it's nice and snug like that, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through. That's 1 single crochet right there. So that's now attached our legs together, and we can continue on with the rest of the instructions, which is 1 more single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So we have 1 and 2. All right, after that, we need to make an increase in the next stitch. So we remember how to make an increase. It's just 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. And we need to repeat that process 1 more time. So let's make 3 more single crochets, and then we will work another increase. 1, 2, 3. We're just working around this second leg here, or this first leg, I should say, that we made. And then our increase. Perfect, there we go. And for our next set of instructions, we need to make 1 single crochet in our remaining 2 stitches, which we have 2 stitches left, so that's perfect. We have 1 single crochet, and then into this one with our little fasten off there, we'll work our last single crochet, just like that. All right, move your little yarn tail out of the way. And for our next set of instructions, it says working in the chain stitches, which are these stitches right here. we need to make 1 single crochet in the next 4 chains, working onto the second leg. So very similarly to how we worked through just the front bar of our invisible decrease, we're going to work through just the front bar of that chain stitch as well. So we'll go ahead and place 1 single crochet here. And we're just going to work that all the way down. The reason we're working in the front bar only of these chain stitches and not around the entire chain like that is because when we return to work on this side, we're going to work through the unused loops of the chain there. So that's why we just want to be working in the front loop or the closest loop to us for this chain. So I have 2. I'm going to do 2 more. 1, 2. And now we've made it back over to our second leg here. So that is perfect. And now it says working in the second leg, place 1 single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches and an increase in the next stitch 2 times. So we're going to do exactly what we did on this first leg. So let's do that together. We'll work 1 single crochet, working right onto the leg now, 2 single crochets and 3. And then into that next stitch, our increase, which again is 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. Let's do that one more time. 1, 2, 3, and then our increase, 2 single crochet in 1 stitch. Awesome. Now it says in the next 2 stitches we need to work 1 single crochet, so we have 2 stitches left, which is exactly what we want. We'll work 1 single crochet in each of those 2 stitches. We're now going to begin working on the unused loops of our chain here. So for that set of instructions, it says in the unused loops of the other side of the chain 4, single crochet 1 in the next 4 stitches. So into now the front loop that's closest to us, right here, just that front part of the loop, we're going to work 1 single crochet in those 4 stitches. So we did end up working single crochets in both the front and back loops of that chain space. So good job there. I got 1 more here to be 4. And perfect. We're back to the first leg we started with, and that is going to be the end of round 7. Good job. I know that was a long round. I'm going to put my stitch marker in that stitch there because that is going to make sure we mark the last stitch of that round, and we now have a new stitch count of 32. So now let's move on to round 8. For round 8 it says 1 single crochet in the next 7 stitches and then an increase. We're going to do that 4 times to get to 36 single crochet. So now you'll just work it normal as we were working right into that first stitch there. Work 7 and an increase. Again, do that 4 times and I'll meet you back here. We'll begin round 9 together. Very nicely done. So now we're going to work our first rounds of a repeat, which is going to be round 9 through 11. For 3 rounds, we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around. And you can really start to see our body taking shape from our legs being connected. So 1 single crochet in each stitch, no increasing, no decreasing. Biggest thing to note when you are working these repeat rounds is either on the instructions or a scrap piece of paper, make a tally every time you complete a round so you don't lose track. It's easy to lose track, and make sure you're moving your stitch marker up with every single round so you'll remember where the last stitch of that round was. I will see you back here at the end of those 3 rounds and we will begin round 12 together. So now that we've worked our 3 rounds of an increase, you can really see our body is starting to take shape. We've built up quite a bit of his tummy, and we're going to begin round 12. Round 12 is 1 single crochet in the next 7 stitches and then an invisible decrease 4 times. So let's do the first one together so I can do a quick refresher on the invisible decrease in case you need it. Let's work those first 7 single crochets though. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Perfect. All right, we're ready to work our invisible decrease. So remember, again, just working through the front loop of that decrease stitch into the first front loop, swing our hook and work into the second front loop only. We can yarn over now, pull through that first loop on the hook and pull through the second loop on the hook. 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and pull through. Our invisible decrease is completed. Go ahead and do that 3 more times. I'll meet you back here at the end of round 12. We'll begin 13 together. Now for round 13, we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around. No increasing or decreasing. Our stitch count is going to stay at 32. I'll see you back here for round 14. Here we are, ready to start round 14. Round 14 is 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches and then another invisible decrease. We're going to do this 8 times this time. So through the front loop of the invisible decrease, swinging over through the next loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through 1, and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through both loops. There we go, another decrease. Go ahead and complete that 8 times total. I'll meet you back here for round 15. And now we're going to work round 15, which is going to be 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around, keeping our stitch count at 24. I'll meet you back here for round 16. Round 16 here, we're going to work a very similar pattern. So into the first 2 stitches, a regular single crochet, and then we're going to do another invisible decrease. We're going to do this 6 times to bring our stitch count down to 18. So go ahead and complete your single crochet in the next 2 stitches and your decrease 6 times. I'll meet you back here to begin the next round together. Alright, so we're about to start round 17, but before we do that, I'm going to take my crochet hook and my loop and just pull it up a little bit, because we're going to actually stuff a little bit of Timber's body now. Since we are working this hole to be smaller, it's going to start getting tricky for us to add stuffing in there. So let's stuff what we have as of right now. I have some of my stuffing out. This is definitely too much for right now, but I'm going to just pull it apart a little bit with my hands like this, and then I can take little parts of it and stuff it into his body. Biggest thing you want to keep in mind here is make sure you're stuffing all the way down the legs here so we don't have some deflated legs. We want nice firm legs for Timber, and you're going to make sure you don't want to overstuff the project so you don't have stuffing coming out like this, because as we work our stitches still, it'll be very tricky to work around all that stuffing. So just stuff it a moderate amount. We will be able to still add more, but the biggest thing is just making sure we get those little legs stuffed and the base of his tummy here. So I'll be back in a moment and we'll begin round 17. So I'm pretty happy with how much I have Timber stuffed here now. I'm going to take my loop and pull it back shut to close that gap up, and now I have a regular loop on my hook like that, and we'll begin round 17. So for round 17, we are going to be working in the front loops only of this round. We're going to make an increase in each stitch all the way around. So we're going to have a lot of stitches at the end of this round because we are going to start creating Timber's head, okay? So in order to do that, we are just going to work as we've done our invisible decrease and how we worked in those chain spaces. We're just going to work into the front loops. Now my first stitch is way over here from my invisible decrease, so if yours looks like it's a little bit further, that's totally okay. It's kind of just because we have a lot of stuffing in here now, but I'm going to go into that front of the loop only instead of how we're used to working through the front and back, just that front loop, and I'm going to make our first single crochet increase, which remember again is 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Now this is the only round we're going to be working in the front loop only for right now, so we'll go back to working through both loops after this round, but again into that next stitch we're working through just the front loop, placing 2 single crochets into that loop. One more time. Front loop only, 2 single crochets into the same stitch. Go ahead and work that in every single stitch all the way around. I'll meet you back here for the beginnings of the next round. All right, nice job there with round 17. So for round 18, we're going to make 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches and then an increase 9 times for a new stitch count of 45. Now remember, as I mentioned, we're working through both the front and back loop of these stitches now, and we're doing 1, 2, 3, and then an increase. Go ahead and complete that 9 times for a new stitch count of 45. I will meet you back here to begin the next round together. Now that we've completed round 18, round 19 through 24 is going to be 4 rounds of 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. So we're doing repeat rounds here, no increasing or decreasing. We're keeping that stitch count at 45 just to build up the head a little bit here of Timber. So go ahead and remember to be marking on a scrap piece of paper, also moving your stitch marker every single round, and I'll meet you back here at the end of those 4 rounds. We will start decreasing his head together. All right, welcome back from working our 4 rounds of repeats. We are ready for round 23. So round 23 reads 1 single crochet in the next 7 stitches, then an invisible decrease again. So we'll work that one time together. How many have I done here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Got one more. And then we'll do an invisible decrease just to refresh one more time. Into that front loop of the first stitch, swinging over and grabbing the second loop of the next stitch. Also the front loop, we're pulling through 1 and through 2 and yarn over, complete the stitch. There we go. Just like to give you a reminder when we haven't done one for a little while there. So go ahead and work that a total of 5 times, and I will meet you back here when our new stitch count is at just 40. And now with our new stitch count down to 40, we're going to begin another set of repeats, which is going to be 3 rounds from round 24 to 26, 1 single crochet in the next stitch all the way around, keeping that stitch count at 40. Remember to tally your rounds as well as moving your stitch marker. I'll see you after we complete those 3 rounds. All right, we've got those repeat rounds of Timber's head worked, and we are ready to begin round 27, which is going to be 1 single crochet in the next 8 stitches, then an invisible decrease. We're only going to do that 4 times, and we're going to bring our stitch count down to 36. So I'll see you when you complete this round, and we'll begin the next round together. For this next round, round 28, we're going to bring our stitch count down to 30. So the instructions for that are going to be 1 single crochet in the next 4 stitches, and then a decrease. So go ahead and complete that invisible decrease, excuse me. Go ahead and complete that for this round. We're going to do that a total of 6 times, and I'll meet you back here for the next round together. Next up for round 29, we're going to work 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches and then an invisible decrease. So we're continuing the pattern of making this head even smaller. So go ahead and complete that for a total of 6 times. We're going to bring our new stitch count down to 24, and I will meet you back for round 30. So before we get into decreasing even further for round 30, I'm going to pull my loop up on the hook again, and I'm going to continue stuffing the rest of my head almost to the top, again how I showed you before, and then we'll come back for round 30 where we are going to be decreasing a little bit more. Now that I have the head stuffed pretty firmly, I'm going to add my hook back in, and we're going to continue our pattern of decreasing here, which means for round 30 we're doing 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches and then our invisible decrease. So go ahead and complete that a total of 6 times. We're going to bring our new stitch count back down to 18. So I'll see you at the end of round 30. For round 31, we're doing a very similar pattern for decreasing. So we're doing 1 single crochet in the next stitch and then an invisible decrease in the next stitch. We are going to do that a total of 6 times to bring our stitch count down to just 12. So go ahead and complete that 6 different times, and I will meet you back for round 32. Now for the last round of our head, yay, we've made it to the top. Round 32 is an invisible decrease 6 times every stitch all the way around. So go ahead and work those. I'll meet you back here to fasten off together. We have 6 invisible decreases to work for this round. All right, when you reach your last stitch, you can keep your stitch marker out and go ahead and chain 1. We're going to cut ourselves a little tail here to sew up the top of Timber's head. Pull your crochet hook straight up and off, and we have this little tiny circle we need to close up here. So now we're going to thread our tapestry needle. This will be our first time using our tapestry needle, and we're going to sew up this hole at the top of the head. In order to do that, I'm going to show you how I like to do this. It makes the most seamless close for me. So into that first single crochet stitch, I'm going to go through the stitch and push it away from my body here. And into that next stitch, I'm going to go into the stitch from behind and pull it towards me like that. So we're just going to weave back and forth through that last round of single crochets, going in that stitch away and then in the next stitch towards me. Need 6 times total, so this is number 5. And lastly, we have number 6 right here. Very small hole, so not much to close. Then I just place my thumb over it and pull it nice and tight, and we have officially closed up our hole. No stuffing's going to be coming out of Timber's head here, which is always a good thing. So then I just push my needle through a random spot in the project. Don't pull that too tight or you'll create a little indent on the head. And then I'll just hide the tail within the body so it doesn't come popping out at the top of his head here. Cut that off, and we have finished Timber's head. body and legs for the start of this project. So good job. This is our biggest piece of the project, and now we're going to begin the ears, which we do need to make 2 of. So go ahead and set timber aside. I'm going to move my tapestry needle and let's start the ears. So still using our russet color, go ahead and either make your magic ring or your chain 4 slip stitch, whichever one was easier for you. And we'll begin our ears. So for round 1 of the ears, it says make your magic ring and chain up 1. We are going to make 6 single crochets into this ring again. Remember, making sure you're going into the ring and up and around like that. So this is 3, 4, 5, 6. Awesome. And if you've done the magic ring, go ahead and pull it closed, just like that. And we'll take our stitch marker here and we're going to place it in that last stitch of the round as we were used to. Round 2 is an increase in every single crochet stitch all the way around. So we'll bring our stitch count up from 6 to 12. So go ahead and make an increase in every stitch and I'll meet you back here for the next round. Now for round 3 of this ear, let's make 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches and then an increase. We're going to do that 3 times, bringing our stitch count to 15. So I have 1, 2, and 3, and then an increase right here. Go ahead and complete that 2 more times. So we have 15 stitches and I'll meet you back here for rounds 4 and 5. Now with our 15 single crochet, we are going to do 2 rounds of a repeat. So for round 4 and 5, we're just making 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. So stitch count will stay at 15. I'll meet you back after those 2 rounds and we'll fasten off ear number 1 together. After you finish round 4 and 5, you can leave your stitch marker out. We'll do our chain 1, leave a tail for sewing, and I'll snip that off. Go ahead and make 1 more ear by yourself, same way we just made this one, and we'll come back to work the first arm together, and then you'll work one of the arms by yourself as well. Okay, so for the arm, we're going to work one last time with our russet color here, so let's get a little bit of this. You can either start this again with your magic ring or your chain 4 slip stitch, whichever one was easier for you, and we need to begin by a chain 1 and 5 single crochet into our chain here. So let me do that very quickly. 3, 4, 5. I'm going to pull my circle closed and put our stitch marker in. So for the arms here in round 2, we need to do an increase in the next stitch 4 times and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch because we want our new stitch count to be 9. So into that first stitch, I'm going to do my first increase. I have 1 increase here. Into the next stitch, another increase. So another 2 single crochet. And that's 2 increases now. Into that next stitch, another 2 single crochet. So we'll have 3 total sets of increases. Last time right here, our 4th set of increases, just like that. And into this stitch with the stitch marker, take it out really quick, we'll add 1 extra single crochet. Like that. So now we have a stitch count of 9, and now it says for rounds 3 through 8, which is going to be 6 rounds total, you're just going to make 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. So 9 stitches. Remember to make a tally, move your stitch marker, and I'll meet you back here to fasten off this first arm together. Just a little reminder for when you work that last stitch of the arm, to chain 1, cut your yarn, which I actually already did, sorry about that, and pull your loop off your hook there. That finishes up your arm. So I'll meet you back after this arm. We're going to work that muzzle together and then we'll start assembling timber, which is really exciting. Now that we've finished both of our arms, are you ready to work with a different color? We're going to work with color A, which is our mocha color, and we are going to start by chaining 4. This is going to be to work the muzzle. We just have a couple rounds of the muzzle here. So first off, again, chain 4. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect, just like that. And then into the second chain from the hook, we're going to increase in the next chain, single crochet in the next chain, and 4 single crochet in the last chain. So that was a lot of instructions, but let's do that together. Into that first chain, remember we're just working through that front loop of the bar because we will be working through the unused loops on the other side. We need to do an increase. So that's 2 single crochet in that front bar of the stitch. Now we have to do 1 single crochet in this next stitch And then the last part of that instruction was to do 4 single crochet in this last stitch that was near our slip knot here. So we'll just place 4 single crochets all in that same space. There's 3 and one last one. All right, number 4. Perfect. So our next set of instructions are going to be working in the unused loops on the other side of the chain 4, single crochet in the next chain, increase in the next chain. So we're just going to work that back, and we'll do 1 single crochet in that middle chain space there, and then in this final space we're going to place an increase, so 2 more single crochet right here. 1 and 2. Now we're going to work round 2 of the muzzle, but let's place our stitch marker in the last stitch of round 1. And for round 2, it says increase in the next stitch 2 times. So we're going to do 2 increases. This first stitch might be kind of tricky to get into, but just push into there and we'll work our first increase in that first stitch. And similar to that, we'll work an increase in that second stitch as well. 1 and 2. Perfect. It says single crochet in the next stitch, so let's do that really quick. And then increase in the next stitch 4 times. So we're going to do 4 sets of increases here. So let's do our first one. We have 1 set of increasing into the next stitch, 2 increasing into the next stitch, 3 sets of increase, and finally into that 4th stitch, our 4 sets of increasing. Perfect. Then we're going to single crochet in the next stitch, and then in the final 2 stitches we're going to work 2 more increases. So I'll just remove my stitch marker now because it is actually the end of round 2, so we won't need to put it back in, and it just makes it easier for my hands over here. 1, 2, and we'll finish off by slip stitching into the first stitch of round 2 there. We can go ahead, chain up 1, we're fastening off here, so I'm going to cut myself a little tail. You could just pull this whole tail through if you'd like. Well, actually let's just do that. That way we have a lot of extra tail for sewing it down. So there you go. Our muzzle is all complete, and with that done, now we can actually say thank you so much to our crochet hook and put it aside. We won't need it anymore. We're going to bring all of our pieces forward and we'll begin sewing timber together, which is really fun. So for assembling, I have all my pieces of timber, and I have my first ear threaded onto my tapestry needle here. There are photos if you want to use the photos as a guide, but I'm going to show you everywhere where I will be positioning all the parts of timber's body. So it says position the ears on either side of the head between rounds 24 and 29 using the yarn tails to sew them into place. So if we start at the top of the head here, this last round we worked was 32, so we can count back by counting these bumps, and that's how we'll find which rounds we need to be working in. So we're working in 24 through 29 as a reminder. So we have 32, 31, 30, 29, and we're actually going to start here because the ears should naturally fall to around 24 for us. So I'm going to go through about 1 stitch length here, making sure I am right on the side of the head that I would like to be at, and I'm going to pull the yarn tail through like that. And then we can let his ear fall, and as you can see, it will fall down those couple rows there. So we'll just go ahead and attach it there. Now to attach this ear, I will be working through both the last round of the single crochet on this side and this side. So we're going to kind of sandwich our ear together, and we'll work through both the front and the back of the ear there, and we'll just pull that through just like that. And then on the back side, we're actually just going to go into the head here and pull that through. So that'll be our first little stitch anchored on there, and then going through again both the front and back of the fabric here just like that. So we're squeezing it together, have the next part of our ear secured. We're just going to repeat this all the way down the ear, just making sure it's nice and snug to the head so it won't go flying off. And I'll meet you back here once you've weaved all the way through the ear and you have it secured onto the head. All right, I'm at the bottom of Timber's ear here, and to hide this yarn tail, I'm just going to push it through the work and have it come out wherever it tends to come out. It really doesn't matter, but I'm going to cut my end off here. And again, this is just to make sure it doesn't pop out of the bottom of the project if you were just to cut it off there. Just a little bit extra security. So there we go. We have one of Timber's ears on. So go ahead and complete the same process on the other side, making sure they're nice and even. And I will be right back to work the next part with you, which will be our arms. All right, with both of Timber's ears on, let's go ahead and attach the arms. So I did thread one onto my needle again, and we need to position these arms on either side of the body between rounds 15 and 16 using the yarn tails to sew it into place. So we know from working this that round 17 was this first round of our head / neck. So if we go from the side here, we'll line it up with our ear. We have row 16 and row 15. So we're just gonna poke our needle through about, again, 1 stitch in width and pull that all the way through, and you'll see his arm will kind of naturally fall onto the body. I'm just going to hold it down with my finger just so I can secure it, making sure I'm going through the arm and the body with these stitches so that it's anchoring down there. Once you feel your arm is nice and secure and it's not going to go flying off, we can push it through one more time and have it come out anywhere on the body, our yarn tail that is, and we'll cut that off so that that tail isn't flying around our project later. And then you'll go ahead and complete the exact same process for his other arm on the other side, of course. All right, yay! Timber's arms are nice and secured on, and we're ready to embroider the eyes. So I've already threaded my black, which is going to be color B, and it says for the eyes, embroider them on around 24 of the head so that there's 6 stitches in between. So let's go back to the top here and we'll work our way down. So we have round 32, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24. So this is the round we're going to start at, and this is about the middle right here. I'm just going to hold my finger there so I don't lose my place, and this is about the middle of Timber. We want to try to be as centered as possible. So now I'm going to work 3 stitches on either side of this middle so that it is still as much in the center as we possibly can be. So we'll work 1, 2, 3, and of course if you want the eyes at a different spot, you are more than welcome to put them wherever you'd like. And with my finger right here, I'm going to go under this stitch here, go up about 1 stitch in length, just like that, and let's pull that black yarn all the way through. Oh, it's getting a little stuck here, hold on. There we go. I don't know how that happened. Pull that yarn all the way through almost. We want to leave a little bit of a tail to sew into the back later. So now that we're attached, we need to actually make our eye. So to close up that line and have the eye start to pop through, we'll just go through that same stitch one more time here. Pull it all the way through like that, and you'll have to move your little yarn tail out of the way just so that you can see it. Now, one time through, as you can see, it's really hard for it to be legible. So we're gonna go through that eye maybe 3 or 4 times, however many you're comfortable with, until you feel like the eye is to your liking as far as thickness goes. So that's 2 for me. I'm gonna do 2 more times, I'd bet, and then we'll be ready to do the other eye. All right, I think 4 times is gonna be perfect for me. So this will be number 4 there. And if you have some stuffing trying to come out of the top there, like I kind of did, you can just take the end of your tapestry needle, push it back in. It's no problem. Get it out of the way there so it won't be poking through. Sometimes it gets caught up in your stitch. So now we'll go ahead and place the other eye on the other side. So now you can either recount from the middle, but I'm just going to count over from this eye, no problem. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we'll be right over here holding that placeholder with my nail. Now to get over here, we can't just go over the top like this because we'll create a line across our work, which of course we do not want. So we're going to go back under that same stitch we had just come out of right there, and we'll go over until our tapestry needle is poking out about where our finger is. Now we do want to be at the top of that stitch because we want it to line up perfectly. So straight across just like that. I'm going to go ahead and pull my yarn tail all the way through. All right, so now you can see our line across is completely hidden under the work, exactly what we want. Now go ahead and complete the process of going 1 stitch length from the bottom to the top here, and we'll do that 4 or however many times you completed it on the other side. For me it was 4. So I'll meet you back here once I've gone through 4 times and we'll finish off the eyes. Now that we've gone 4 times through on either eye and they are as equal as possible, I'm going to take my yarn tail attached to my tapestry needle and poke it out through the back here, pulling it all the way through to the back, just like that. Go ahead and cut this end off. All right, and then it'll just kind of hide into the head like that. Go ahead and do the same thing for this yarn tail, and then we'll finish off Timber by sewing his muzzle on and embroidering his little mouth. So once you've hidden the yarn tails of the eyes, I'm actually going to take Timber and just place him aside for 1 second. We're going to embroider the muzzle first. So I have my black yarn color B rethreaded onto my needle here, and I have the muzzle in front of me. Now remember where we worked all these increases on either side? I want those pointing up and down. So we're going to work the muzzle so that we have all these increases pointing upwards and all these pointing downwards, and we'll have the most narrow parts of the oval on either side like this, and we're going to put a little nose and mouth onto him. So coming through about the middle of the oval here, I'm going to pull this yarn through almost all the way, leaving a small tail in the back there. We're going to make the nose first. So going up about a stitch and slightly to the left, I'm just going to push my yarn through. And then coming out on the right side of the muzzle here, I'm going to pull through again, and going back into that center, I'm going to close that little V up just like that. So that's obviously not enough for our nose, so we need to go through again. I'm going to repeat this process a couple of times just until we thicken up that nose a little bit. Just going back and forth through all these stitches to make that nose. You can even go across the two as well. Like that. And let's just do one more time here. So I'm going to come from the bottom and go through the center right there. And now we've made our nose nice and thick like that. So now to finish off the nose, we need to do the little mouth. So let's come out the center again here where we've begun, and we'll go down just one more stitch length through that stitch right there. So we have a little bit of a mouth here, and then he does have a little bit of a smile going on either side. So slightly to the left down there, push our tapestry needle through the middle again. That's always kind of how we keep the mouth centered. And then slightly over here to the right, we'll come through one more time. So just weaving this little mouth on. You can do the nose however big or small, or the mouth however smiley you want, but I think for me that is perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the tail off right here, take the black yarn off because we'll need to thread the muzzle next, but I'm also just going to come back here, and we have all of these yarn tails back here. So you can see where we started the muzzle and then the 2 black ones. I'm actually just going to secure these in a knot just so that they don't come unraveled, the mouth and embroidery that we just did, that is. And this will also just help really secure them into place and keep them out of the way for us when we're trying to sew the muzzle down. So I'll do one more little knot here, and then I'll cut these tails off, and we'll begin sewing the muzzle down to the face. Okay, just cutting all these off there. And this is the back of the work, so no one's going to see that, and no one has to know we have all those little knots back there, but it'll just really help us keep it nice and secure. So I'm going to re-thread my muzzle here, and we'll begin sewing his muzzle to his head. All right, pulling little Timber back in front of us, I have the muzzle, and I'm going to place it on his face. Now for the instructions, it says to place the muzzle between rounds 17 and 23 of the head. So round 17, remember again, was our neck. So we want our first part of the muzzle, the bottom part of the muzzle, right down at the neckline there. And I'm going to turn it sideways so it's easier for you to see. We're going to sew this on the same way we've sewed all of our other body parts on. So first through the muzzle, and then coming out the side of his head here, we just want to make sure that we're securing every stitch down to both the muzzle and then of course to the head as well. Make sure you're being mindful of how straight and even you're keeping this. Again, through the muzzle and coming out the side of his head here, just a little bit over, but so your stitches can hide it. So you're kind of then pushing the next stitch right over top of that, just like that. And then we'll go into it again. And you'll complete this all the way around your oval until you feel your muzzle is nice and secure onto Timber's face. And then we'll go ahead and fasten off our tail at the end here. Again, just make sure you're keeping track of how straight and even the muzzle is on the face. So I'll see you back here once I completely sew down the muzzle. Once you find your muzzles on there nice and snug and it's not going to be coming up at any of the stitches here of the last round of single crochets, go ahead and push it all the way through to the back the same way we did the eyes. Let it come out wherever it might come out. Pull it through like that. And I'm going to cut this tail off for the last time, if you can believe that. And there you go. We have worked Timber. Congratulations. Round of applause from Timber to you. You did a great job. So happy you joined me for today's tutorial on LYKKE's AMITAMI kits, of course in Timber the Bear. I hope you'll check out the other kits we have available, and I hope you found this tutorial helpful. Thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, bye!